What if I told you that the real medieval assassins made the guys from Assassin's Creed look like amateurs at a Renaissance fair? I'm serious. We're talking about a secret order that built impenetrable fortresses on mountain peaks so steep that eagles had second thoughts, brainwashed recruits using what they genuinely believed was a literal garden of paradise, and sent lone killers into crowded courtyards to publicly execute the most powerful men in the known world, knowing full well they would die in the process. And they did this not for some glowing apple of Eden or a centuries-long Templar conspiracy. They did it for faith, for survival, and for raw, calculated power. The Assassin's Creed franchise has sold over 200 million copies, and it's built on this history. But the real story is so much wilder that Ubisoft had to tone it down to make it believable as fiction. So today, we're going full deep dive, the game Assassins versus the real Hashashin. And trust me, the truth is way more metal. Let's start with what most of us know. In the Assassin's Creed universe, the Assassin Brotherhood is an ancient global organization stretching back thousands of years. Their creed is built on three tenets: stay your blade from the flesh of the innocent, hide in plain sight, and never compromise the Brotherhood. They fight the Templars, who want to control humanity through order and domination, while the Assassins champion free will. You've got Altair in the Holy Land, Ezio in Renaissance Italy, Connor in the American Revolution, and the list goes on. The games paint a picture of a noble, almost philosophical order. They leap from rooftops, blend into crowds, strike with hidden blades, and vanish. It's elegant, it's romanticized, and honestly, it's incredible game design. But here's the thing. Ubisoft based the original Assassin's Creed directly on the historical order of assassins. Altair's story, set in 1191 during the Third Crusade, takes place in the exact time and region where the real Hashashin were at the peak of their power. The fortress of Masyaf in the game is a real place. Al-Mualim, Altair's mentor, is loosely based on a real historical figure. But where the game gives us a sanitized brotherhood of philosopher warriors, the real order was something far stranger, far darker, and far more fascinating. The Order of Assassins, properly known as the Nizari Ismailis, was founded around 1090 by a man named Hassan-i. And this guy, honestly, he deserves his own 10-part Netflix series. Hassan was a brilliant scholar, a theologian, and a political radical living in a world dominated by the Seljuk Turks and the broader Sunni establishment. He belonged to a minority sect of Shia Islam called the Ismailis, and in the 11th century, being an Ismaili in Seljuk territory was somewhere between dangerous and suicidal. So Hassan didn't just start a resistance. He engineered an entirely new model of asymmetric warfare that the world had literally never seen before. In 1090, he captured the fortress of Alamut in what is now northern Iran. And when I say captured, I don't mean he stormed the walls with an army. He infiltrated the castle by slowly converting the people living in and around it to his cause, one by one, over months, until the garrison commander woke up one morning and realized that he was the only person in his own fortress who wasn't loyal to Hassan. The commander was paid a sum of gold and politely asked to leave. That's it. No siege, no battle, just pure, patient, terrifying social engineering. This became Hassan's base of operations, and from Alamut, a castle perched in the Alborz Mountains at over 6,000 feet, he built a network of mountain fortresses across Persia and later Syria that would endure for nearly 2 centuries. Now, here's where it gets truly wild, and where the line between history and legend gets beautifully blurry. Marco Polo, the famous Venetian explorer, wrote about the Order of Assassins, and his account is one of the most dramatic stories in medieval literature. According to Marco Polo, Hassan-i had constructed a secret garden between 2 mountains, filled with every fruit and flower imaginable, with streams of wine and milk and honey, and populated with the most beautiful women in the land. Young recruits would be drugged with a potion, carried into this garden, and when they woke up, they were told they were in paradise. They lived there for days, experiencing every pleasure, and then they were drugged again, removed from the garden and brought before Hassan. He would tell them that he had the power to send them to paradise, and that if they died in his service, they would return to that garden for eternity. Now historians debate how much of this is true, Many scholars believe Marco Polo was repeating exaggerated rumors. But what is not debated is that the Hashashin had an extraordinarily effective system for producing fanatically loyal operatives. Their devotees, called fidei, which literally translates to those who sacrifice, were willing to carry out suicide missions with absolute conviction. And this is where the name comes in. The word assassin likely derives from Hashashin, a term their enemies used, possibly meaning users of hashish. Whether they actually used hashish ash is debated. Some historians think it was a slur meant to discredit them as drugged-up fanatics. Others think there might be a kernel of truth that some kind of substance was involved in the indoctrination process. Either way, the name stuck, and it gave the English language the word assassin. Think about that. An entire word in our vocabulary exists because these people were so effective at killing that their name became the definition of the act itself. The Assassin's Creed games are famous for their assassination set pieces. You study your target, infiltrate their stronghold, find the perfect moment, strike and escape. It's thrilling in a game, but the real Hashashin took a fundamentally different approach. And it was arguably more terrifying. The fidei didn't escape. That was the point. A fidei would spend months, sometimes years, embedding himself in the court or retinue of a target. He might become a trusted servant, a soldier, even a religious advisor. He would wait patiently, invisibly, until the perfect public moment, and then, in front of hundreds or even thousands of witnesses, he would draw a dagger and kill his target. Not in some dark alley, in broad daylight, in a mosque, in a throne room, in front of an army. And then he would stand there. He wouldn't run, he would let himself be killed. Because the message was never just about removing one person. The message was, no one is safe, no amount of guards, no fortress walls, no loyal retinue can protect you. We can reach anyone, anywhere, anytime. And we are not afraid to die doing it. This strategy was devastatingly effective. The Hashashin assassinated multiple Seljuk viziers, Crusader lords, Fatimid officials, and countless other political and military leaders. One of their most famous targets was Conrad of Montferrat, the king of Jerusalem, who was stabbed to death by two fidei disguised as Christian monks in 1192. The same year Assassin's Creed's first game is set, by the way. The psychological impact was immense. Leaders across the Middle East lived in constant fear. The Sultan Saladin himself, one of the most powerful men in the medieval world, allegedly found a poisoned dagger and a threatening note on his pillow while sleeping in his heavily guarded tent. He reportedly made peace with the Hashashin shortly after. So what happened to them? The Hashashin endured for almost 200 years, but in the mid-13th century, the Mongols happened. In 1256, the Mongol warlord Hulagu Khan, grandson of Genghis Khan, marched his army into Persia with the specific goal of destroying the assassin fortresses. Alamut, the great eagle's nest that had never been conquered, fell to the Mongols. The libraries were burned, the fortresses were dismantled, and the Persian branch of the order was effectively annihilated. The Syrian branch held on a bit longer, but was eventually absorbed and neutralized by the Mamluk Sultan Baybars. And just like that, an order that had terrorized empires for generations was gone. But their legacy is immortal. They fundamentally changed how the medieval world thought about power, vulnerability, and asymmetric warfare. They proved that a small, dedicated group could challenge empires not through armies, but through precision, patience, and sheer psychological terror. And yes, they gave us one of the most successful video game franchises in history. But here's my takeaway. Assassin's Creed gives us heroes in hoods performing superhuman feats of parkour and wielding magical artifacts from a precursor civilization. That's fun. That's great entertainment. But the real Hashashin didn't need any of that. They were ordinary men who were made to believe extraordinary things, operating from mountain castles that looked like they were carved by gods, executing missions that changed the course of history with nothing but a dagger and the willingness to die. No animus required, no eagle vision, no hidden blade mechanisms, just conviction, strategy, and steel. And honestly, that's way more metal. So what do you think? Did Assassin's Creed do the Hashashin justice, or does the real history blow the games out of the water? I want to hear your take in the comments below. Drop your favorite Assassin's Creed game while you're at it, and tell me which real historical assassin you think deserves their own game. If you learned something new today, or just had a good time, smash that like button. It genuinely helps more people find videos like this. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you even doing? Hit subscribe, ring the bell, and join us because we go deep on history's wildest stories every single week. I'll see you in the next one.